This is Sessions with Sara Cate and Ashley, a podcast that explores the feelings, emotions, and experiences of what it means to be human in this world. This podcast is intended for educational purposes only and is not meant to replace therapeutic services of any kind. Please refer to the list of references if you need support.
And before you dive in, please like, subscribe, comment, share with anyone you think might also connect with today's session. Our goal is to reach as many people as possible, and we are endlessly grateful for your continued support. So, let's get to it.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to another session with Sara Cate and Ashley. I am Sara Cate.
I'm Ashley.
And was that a question?
Every time I do that, I question if that's my name.
I'm Ashley.
It's actually
her name, in fact, is Ashley. She is not Sara Cate. Have you, dear listeners, figured out our voices yet? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah.
Do you know who is who? So all of that aside, Ashley and I earlier this week recorded 2 episodes of the podcast that in fact had no sound, which maybe some of you are grateful for. but you're still here. So I'm assuming that you would prefer to hear the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's a very important conversation to us. That's why we cleared some time in our schedules again to make sure we record this episode. And, you know, to be quite honest, when something derails me or, especially this conversation and it's one that's very, very, present in a lot of people's minds and hearts and bodies in the moment. And it is the conflict and the war that is happening in Palestine and Israel. We wanted to bring our perspective to it. As always, this is from our lived experience and from our perception and our emotions and our feelings surrounding this. I work with many individuals who are Jewish, and so it has been very present and at the forefront of the work that I was in this week with my clients, and also what has been in my body, being a part of humanity. Innocent people's lives have been lost, impacted, and it is not lost on Ashley and I. These are the moments that she and I know that we have to step forward and step towards these conversations. We want to be as thoughtful as possible around all of these conversations because it is impacting everyone differently somehow. Even if you're having to look away, or you're noticing a real resistance to participating in any conversation around it, notice that. There are people who can't look away. There are people who this is on both sides in all of this, right, that are being deeply impacted by this. So Ashley and I started this platform to have conscious, thoughtful, honest conversations. And so we invite you into that space with us today to sit with what you're noticing in your body about this. We encourage you to take breaks from the media, all media, social media, the news. We encourage you to take time to resource. We encourage you to be thoughtful about what you do feel about this. You know, everyone is going to have an opinion and everyone is going to have a perspective on this. And it might be very different from yours. And at the end of the day, we just really invite you to come closer towards your own humanity and recognize that your feelings, beliefs, experiences might very well be different than somebody standing across from you. However, they are having feelings, thoughts, and beliefs as well. So as we come to this, we're going to share our feelings and thoughts from a place of how to support you and ourselves and how we are resourcing, how we're dealing with it, how we're working with this in our own bodies. As deeply empathetic people, and likely if you found this podcast, you might have some of that intense empathy as well, where you might be feeling a heaviness, you might be feeling an ache, you might be feeling despair to be quite honest. I have been there. If I'm fully transparent, I have really been in a ton of despair and grief because of the way that this is playing out. And when Ashley and I first had the conversation about this, I was like, I want to talk about this. I know that we need to talk about this. And I am in the trenches with it emotionally. Like I was not well, and mentally or emotionally or really physically, my body was really, really reacting to it, because it impacts so many people I love so much, so intensely. So I was really grateful that she had the courage to kind of say, hey, this is the moment we do really need to have this conversation. But I'm just going to acknowledge that for me, this one is really hard to have. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to express what I need to express without some bias and some anger and some discomfort in my own body, because there is a greater work here than just humans. This is government, this is money, this is politics, and this has been something, unfortunately, that is in our history of humankind, is war and trauma and pain for the gain of a few. And we're sitting in this moment, but we have to bring to it presence and energy more than anything else. And remember, and staying with, like I said, staying with our humanity. And so in line with that, Ashley found something she really wanted to share and read that I think really speaks to an opening of like, whatever you're feeling right now, however much you're feeling that right now, you're probably not alone. If it's anger, if it's frustration, if it's fear, if it's devastation, whatever it might be, if it's confusion. This work that Ashley is going to share really, I think, for when she shared it with me, I was like, that it does have such a relevance to what likely many people might be experiencing. So,
okay. It's written by John Pavlovitz, who, if you don't know who that is, he is somebody that in times like this, I turn to a lot. He has a Patreon that you can subscribe to. He has many books that I have them all. But they're really just, he has really great words, and he's able to put words to emotions that sometimes I struggle with describing, especially in situations like this. And he actually wrote this a few years ago about a different conflict. But I'm going to read it, part of it now. This isn't the whole entire thing. Just, I cut it down a little bit for like time, but it is titled, "Lately, I Hope There's a Hell." I was brought up believing that hell was real, though later in life I'd grown skeptical. It seemed like an idea incompatible with a loving God and the very idea of grace. I'm not sure that hell exists, but today I admit to being strangely hopeful. Today, for the first time in my life, I cling to the idea that somewhere beyond this life, there is a place where horrible people pay for the atrocities, where the evil humankind unleashes upon this world is returned to them in kind, and they are finally made personally accountable, where they feel the pain they have inflicted while here. Today, it feels like this world has failed the good people, and maybe hell is the only chance there is for things to be made right. If there's a hell, they might have to be accountable there for their willful hatred here, and I want them to be accountable. If hell exists, this would be precisely why. And yes, I know I'm supposed to believe that love wins and that it conquers all and that it is all you need. But honestly, that's a tough sell today. Today, it all just feels like empty platitudes and pop songs. And platitudes and pop songs won't remove a tumor. And so love alone feels tragically insufficient. It is my calling and my aspiration. And tomorrow I'll be standing again in the bloody trenches alongside my like-hearted brothers and sisters who believe that good people can alter the planet. But today, that doesn't feel like enough. That doesn't feel like the story. Today, this story is that hateful people do hateful things to other people, and they do it all believing a higher power is good with it. Today, the story is that not all people are decent or compassionate or merciful. Today, the story is that the sick and the poor and the different and the vulnerable are all being trod upon. And I hate this story because too many innocent people are suffering in real time because of it. Too many people are enduring a living hell in their daily lives. And so, yes, right now I look at this day and this life and this world, and it feels like the bad people are winning. And I want those people to understand how much hurt they are manufacturing. And since they don't seem to care very much at all, I want to believe that they will one day face their maker and the mirror and the blood upon their hands. And so as much as it pains me to say it, today, I'm kind of hoping there's a hell.
So
Yeah.
God, I've heard it and it still gets me.
Yeah, every time.
But I also want to name that, like, my tears feel so, what is even the word? Empty.
Yeah.
In comparison to what people are enduring. Like, me sitting in this privileged position, thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away from any of this conflict, in my existence in day to day, I am not physically impacted by this. And yet it is so deeply felt in my body. And I think that's a hard thing to reconcile sometimes. And I think what Ashley was speaking to in what that passage brought up is just the truth of that, of like, we will have days where we can show up and feel available to fight and do and be a part of the collective that wants a better world. And then there are days where it just is too much. And, he wrote this about a different conflict. I mean, like, this is the regardless of whatever you believe about what is happening in this conflict, specifically in Palestine and Israel, it's an emotional situation as well. And one that I'm sure your heritage, if it is different from these, has had its own history of this type of pain and this type of war and this type of devastation. Or maybe in your personal life, you're experiencing that. Maybe you're living your own version of hell right now. And what we're not here to do is have an opinion about who's right and wrong in this, but more so give voice to the fact that, like, we can deeply feel these things regardless of where we are at in the world. And we can deeply feel things based off of what is in front of us. And those feelings are real.
Yeah.
And they're valid.
Yeah.
And sometimes those feelings are the gnarly ones. It's the anger. It's I hate what's happening. And do I like to be a person that walks around with hate in my heart? No. But do I hate what's happening? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah. And I think it's so, given that we've already recorded this once, I've been like comparing how I felt the last time we talked about it and today. And it's so interesting how, like, exactly what Sara Cate just said about how, like, some days you're able to be on it and just there's a little less charge, not that it's gone, a little less charge, or you're able to focus on the other things that you have to do to get through your day better. And the first time we recorded this, I mean, I was still like crying in my car every time I got in and wondering, like, how are all of these people not just crying in their car? How are they not feeling this hurt? Like, how are they not physically feeling the hurt of all of these people? Now, like Sara Cate said, we're coming at this from a standpoint of being pretty empathetic and in this world. And, I think it's so interesting in times like these because collapse is real, like a collapse of your ability of your nervous system to be able to, like, participate in conversations like what we're participating in right now, willfully participating in this conversation about this conflict. And if that's where you're at, that's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's not that you're not doing anything just because you're not sharing something on social media, or like, it's just all of these messages we get about how we're supposed to be handling this right now.
Yeah.
It's not okay. And one of the amazing, and this is like, I'm like living this like experience right now, is like humanity. If we just agree to have the conversation, right? Like there's no right way to do this. Sara Cate and I don't have like a instruction manual. We're just, well,
we are definitely flying blind.
But that's why we're here. We're here to have this conversation and invite you into a space where the goal is more support of navigating these really hard feelings. Like she said, we're not, there's no opinions here on like what's right, what's wrong. But the really cool thing about humanity is how some days that collapse is where you're at. Yeah. And on some days it's not. And if we just have the conversations, the impact that has on those around us, because somebody might be feeling really unsafe around you and in that collapse. And if we all could just have a little bit more humanity, have a little bit more of a reason to connect with each other in these times of crisis. It's not like over here in Denver, Colorado, the two of us are going to be able to go in there and change everything, right? But we can, although I would, if we could, but we can change how our community here is moving through it. And we can provide a space for the people around us to have a hope that they're worthy of expressing their emotions. And so I think, you know, I don't know. It's just so weird. It's just so interesting to feel like what I'm feeling in my body now again, because it's like such a deep pit in my stomach, because, and every time I read that, it doesn't matter how many times I read it. Every time I read it, it's like hard for me to get through because I feel such anger. Like I feel such rage, really. It's beyond anger in like the most intense form that like what I read, I truly believe. It's like, I truly hope that right now. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know, for us to sit here and then be like, but things are going to get better, you know, like that's a bunch of bull. Like
it
that's
is.
just
I mean,
not
like,
what we're here for.
History has shown that unfortunately it doesn't get better. War is a part of our generational DNA. Yeah. And also like something that's really, that I'm really aware of when it comes to this is how much we're consuming, because for so many times, like these conflicts have been happening for centuries, and where you were placed geographically, you might not have been involved in it, right? And so then you might not have had a really strong awareness about it, or you heard about it, but it was like distilled and through, you know, it wasn't in your face. You weren't seeing the images of it. And like, we are now a part of a global society because of social media. And so we are inundated with every conflict everywhere, all of the time. And our nervous systems are not made to take on that much information and that overwhelm all of the time. And so we have to become the protectors of our own sanity. And that doesn't mean that we look away from hard things, even if we have to at some moments. It doesn't mean that we aren't good people if we have to take breaks from what we are witnessing. Because like to Ashley's point, if you go into collapse all of the time because you're inundated from this, what are you going to be able to do? How are you going to support the people that are in your life? How are you going to be supported by the people that are in your life if you're not able to kind of like take a step back every now and then? Like, we can't fix things if we're standing in the fire all the time. We can't see it. We can't figure out how to change it. So, you know, taking these really conscious, concerted pauses in how you're consuming. For me, you know, for the first 72 hours, I couldn't stop looking, and it collapsed me. And then I had to work, and I had to be present with people who were feeling this on a very visceral level, because this is in their generational trauma. you know, being exterminated and eradicated was a part of the Jewish experience, and it is a part of the Jewish lineage. It is cellular for them. And so when this comes up, all of my clients who have this heritage are triggered deeply. And Ashley and I do want to have a conversation at some point, another session around generational trauma, because it's still such a soft, fringy space in the psychological world, but it is, but because of Ashley and I work with the body, it is so real to us. We witness it all of the time. And I think this is a moment where I've really tried to normalize that for people, where I'm like, yes, you're probably going to have a triggered response to this because this is something that your generations have lived before. And these generations have lived this for eons, right? And so Palestine, Israel, all of them, like, this is not something that is new. And so this is compounded and compounded and compounded in their systems. And so it's just overwhelming. And it's felt, even if we're not living there. And I think any of us who have trauma histories, you know, I've been really sensitive to all of the women that I work with, because all of the things that we're seeing that are happening to women and children, I work with women that have had those things happen to them in different ways. And so it pulls all of that up. So like, even if you feel like you're disconnected from it and you're kind of like, why am I still feeling this so deeply? It's because it probably is triggering something in you, or bringing up something in you that made you feel disempowered, made you feel invisible, made you feel taken advantage of or hurt, or like you didn't have choice. You know, like if you're feeling like your stuff is up right now, it makes sense why. Yeah. Like, we're witnessing this more than we ever have been able to before, because of the platforms that these devices that we hold in our hands that never give us any space from something that's happening with someone in your life, someone across the world. You know, it is just constant. Yeah. And we have to be so mindful of that in this. And I had to like, so then I like went from like overconsumption to like, I just shut all of my feelings and emotions down. And my partner had to lovingly call me forward when I was not acting like myself. And he was just like, what's going on? Like, you're not you right now. And then it came, all of the emotions came, and I was very, very emotional and very dysregulated, and that had to happen. And so then when, you know, Ashley brought it up, it was kind of like, oh my God, like I'm still in this, now I'm in this different wave of it, where I was like, I don't think I have the words. Yeah. You know, and so I find it really interesting, like she was saying, that we're coming back to this conversation with a very, you know, like I feel very differently in my body about it right now. It is still heavy, and I'm still quite sick to my stomach pretty much daily. And I'm still able to talk about it today in a different way. Yeah. But it's because I'm also trying to take care of myself. I'm only getting now my news from a specific person. I will actually, if you are interested, again, this is my perspective and my opinion, but Jessica Yellen, she has a platform called News Not Noise. And it is the only thing that I will allow myself to take information from, because she has historically for me been unbiased and a fact checker, and is very mindful about how she presents the information. She doesn't go for like the catchy headline or the dramatic picture to pull people in. Like, she just is really committed to providing content that is informative, but not inflammatory. Yeah.
So I want to highlight some things that Sara Cate said really quick, because she kind of walked you through her process of being in that collapse, and how, you know, her partner gave her a little nudge.
I know. I like that. That's a very kind way of being like, what the hell is wrong with you?
You know, well, and it's interesting coming from, like, you know, friend perspective as well, because we were both in, like we said, in just very different parts. When I read that passage the first time, I literally like laid over to the side and cried after I read it.
Fetal position.
I like literally, my body like literally collapsed kind of down over to the side. But you know, like before we recorded last time, I had to look at her and be like, are you okay? Because no, don't, because
I wasn't.
right. And I mean, you know, this is again, like we're processing this in like real time, right? And this is such a highlight of why, like, it is okay. Like, yes, her partner was there to support her and be like, hey, you're not yourself. And in times like this, of course, we're not ourselves, right? Of course, we're going to feel like we sometimes can't even move forward to the next minute. That makes total sense. And she highlighted that she's also taking care of herself. And when you take care of yourself, it doesn't mean that then you just don't care about what else is going on.
Or that it's all fine.
Right. Or that you just, you don't do any of that, but it's being realistic about how if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to be able to show up in any other part of your life. You're not going to be able to mobilize anything, right? If we're not taking care of ourselves. And so I just think that, and one more thing, she also highlighted how important it is to have support around you. Now, for her, it was her partner. It doesn't have to be a partner. It can be a friend. It can be a mentor. It can be a colleague. It can be a therapist, whoever.
Community.
Having a space. And as I say this, I am acutely aware that we are not all afforded safe spaces all of the time. And part of what Sara Cate and I are here for is to be a place where if you need support, yes, we have our resources listed. They're listed in all of the show notes for every single episode, and we'll never stop posting them because they're that important. But also, we're here. You can message us, right? Our information is there. We don't want people to feel like they have nowhere to turn to, and we will help you find someone. And
no, I think, you know, what you're speaking to, Ashley, is when you said to have a space to kind of come and process. I think that's like so important in this, like, right, like that there's a reflection, that the pain, even if it isn't about this, if you're having pain or emotions or feelings about something in your life, having that support, having that reflection, you know, energetically knowing that what you're feeling is real is something that so many of us have not been afforded in our life. We've been asked to shut down or change our emotions. And Ashley and I talk about this all of the time because it really is a huge part of the coming back to ourselves and allowing what we feel to be true in that moment, and us validating it, us acknowledging it, you know, and we still need that support from somebody else. Like, it's incredible when we can do that for ourselves. We're like, my feelings are valid and I trust them. It's amazing when we can do that, but it is one of the hardest things too.
Well, and we're humans. We're not here to be by ourselves.
Exactly.
And everything.
So we need those reflections and we need that support. And so figuring out how to find those spaces, you know, where it is. I mean, Ashley and I found such a home in each other in this, because I think we both feel it so deeply. And there are a lot of people in my life that aren't feeling it so deeply. And I have to understand that, like, that is also their process. Now there are people who are going to be angry that people aren't feeling it deeply. And I have to respect and honor their process too. Right. And name and acknowledge, like, you get to be upset that more people aren't aware of this or more people aren't concerned. Like, you get to be mad about that. So, you know, but it doesn't mean that we then take it out on somebody else. We actually just allow ourselves to be like, I wish more people cared. And that's a really hurtful thing, that people in my life don't care the way that I do about this, or they aren't concerned, or whatever it might be. And so, like, that, you know, that's all everybody, again, is going to have their experience of this. And we're not just speaking, yes, we're highlighting this because I think this conflict right now and this war right now, because it's so here, but this is just a greater story of what it means to have community, to not feel misunderstood or isolated or alone.
Yeah. You know, I didn't grow up, and a lot of the people in my life are the same, in which they didn't grow up in a home where like things like this were talked about. And it was just kind of like, okay, there's the news, and then you shut it off if you're watching it at all. Right. And again, the way we consume our news right now is so different, but I didn't have conversations like this. And so as we're going through this, it's like I said before, like, we don't know how to have a conversation about this. We're just talking about it. We're speaking from our own lived experience. And if you're speaking from that, that's your truth. And so that's not wrong. Right. And I don't know that I ever got any messages. So I can remember times being like, why, like, about the people in my, like, why are you not out in these streets protesting with me? Right. And like being so angry, like, how are you not, like, aren't you paying attention? Aren't you following along? Don't you see what's happening? How are you not out there? Right now, like Sara Cate said, I can have those feelings and be incredibly distraught. What I can't do is be in their lived experience, because they might be in a state of collapse in which there's no way that they could be out in the streets protesting or whatever it is, right? Like, that's just an example. And I don't know how it actually is affecting them, because I think, again, on social media, we get told that we're supposed to like have a stance about everything, and we're supposed to like publicize it, and we're supposed to like spew all of this stuff, when that's just not the way that everybody works. If your platform is for that, that's amazing. But just because somebody isn't posting, just because somebody isn't screaming from the top of their lungs, does not mean they're not caring or showing up in a different way. And I don't want anybody to think that their process is wrong, right, because of how they have to move through this, because I don't know that there were some days, especially when it first happened, that I could have even talked about it at all, like mute, silent. There was zero words that could have come out of my mouth except for, oh my God, and that's okay. That was where I was at. And I don't want to judge myself for not being able to like dive right into this deep discussion about it. And yeah, I just don't want any one of you to feel like your process is wrong because of what we're seeing and told for how we should be here.
And there are people, that maybe you know them, maybe you don't, that can't look away. Right? Like this is so a part of who they are, that it is. And there are people we obviously know that are living this hell right now. So this is a part of being human.
Yeah.
Is hard, confusing, horrific experiences. And this is why I think Ashley and I drive this point so much, that coming back to you and what you feel is the way to support yourself and others, even. Because if I'm honest about how I'm feeling, if I give myself permission to feel how I feel about this, then I can, to Ashley's point, mobilize, get out there, do something, touch my community in certain ways, support my community in certain ways. If I first allow what I'm feeling to be real and felt, to let it move through how it wants to. And I don't know how that looks for you. Yeah. And I don't even really know how it looks for Ashley. I'm not in her body. I don't feel her sensations. And so like the reality is like, we are all raised, socialized to believe certain things. And that comes with a cost, because it tells us that we have to conform and believe what we are told. And it doesn't give a lot of permission for that internal trust and that internal compass to really come online early and be like, I don't think that I really agree with that. But when you're in these communities and like you're raised with specific religious beliefs or specific ethical beliefs, right, based off of the social environment, social emotional environment you're in, it's easy to just it's easy to conform, like, especially when we're taught it so young. And so then as these adult people, when we want to start to challenge those beliefs and we want to start to look at this from a global perspective, not just a religious perspective or whatever it is, Ashley and I, you know, we are doing that. And again, but we were not raised in these communities that are in this conflict right now. And so we don't know what it was like to have that as our lived experience.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's sensitive for everyone. It doesn't, again, we're not here to talk about what's right and wrong in this. We're just here to create a space, hopefully an invitation for you to take time.
Yeah.
To discover and explore maybe what you feel, and then do what you need to do to have that feel supported. And, you know, for me, it's to some degree, it's not talking to certain people about it.
Yeah.
Because I know my sensitivity or my, and that's not because they're bad people. It's just, it wouldn't be something that I would feel safe in. So I don't have to talk about it with them. But the people that I do feel safe with, I then talk about it with them. And that's my way of just taking
that's
care
really
of
important. That's a really, and if you need permission for that, like, here's your permission to be super selective if you need to be on who you talk about this with. And again, like, this just goes back to, like, we're not lost on the fact that not everybody has a really supportive community around them. And
here's one
here. Yeah, exactly. Here is one. So,
wow.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. And pay attention to what you're feeling. Obviously, this is a heavy conversation. It's been heavy for Ashley and I for many days. It's been heavy for everyone living it. It's been heavy for everyone in different ways and in different reasons. And maybe your heavy is just something very different than this, but like, know that exploring what you feel and being honest about it is the way that we start to also make change. If people were more aware of their humanity, if they were more aware of their feelings, we would likely do things differently.
Yeah. Okay, we did it for the second time.
Hopefully this one has sound and that the message gets you where you're at.
Yeah. Okay.
Take care.
Bye.